Hello, I'm Chef Tani, and I'm going to show you today how to set up your station before you start cooking in every class that we have here at the ICI. So the first thing that you need to have on your station is make sure that you have your paring knife, your chef knife, and your peeler with you all the time. You should not have your knife kit on your station. Your knife kit should be next to the door. There is a special place for you to put it, your backpack and your knife kits. It should not be on your station. If you know that you need some other stuff, you can bring them, but every day you should have your paring knife, your chef knife, and a peeler with you on your station all the time, okay? Another thing you should have is each student, you're gonna have 4 in your station, each student should have their cutting board. So you set up 4 cutting board. Each student should have their side towel. This side towel is for you to grab hot pans. It should not be used to wipe down anything. It should stay dry. If you get this one wet, when you try to grab a pot out of the oven, it will be very hot in your hand and it might burn your hand. So this one should stay dry, is to grab your pots and pan. You can put it on your apron or you can have it on your station right next to you and use it when you need it, okay? Also on your station you should have 2 containers. It can be Laxan or any other kind of container, it really doesn't matter, but you should have one for usable trim and one for unusable trim. What does it mean, usable trim? When we're making stocks in classes, instead of start cutting mirepoix, if we have usable trim that we save for our production, this way we can use it and we are not wasteful. So pieces of onions, the roots of onions, when you square a carrot, put all the pieces that are not perfectly cut in there. Celery, if you have pieces of celery, put it in there. Parsley stem also can be used there. All the other stuff that is unusable, we can put in here. It needs to be compostable, so it needs to be organic. And then on the bottom of your table, you should have a big bin that you can empty your unusable trim in there, and then at the end of the class you will go and take it out of the class and put it into the compostable bin outside in the dock area, okay? And so these are the things that you need to have, plus each station should have on the bottom a sanitation bucket with a side towel and a soapy water. When you clean your station first, you're gonna clean it with soapy water, then rinse it, and then go ahead and sanitize your station. So these are the things that you need to have here every time before you start cooking in a class. After the lecture, you set up the station this way, and that's it. Some more things that you need to set up before you start working is the station next to the stove, okay? You want to have a bain-marie full with hot water in it. Hot water from the tap water is fine, it doesn't have to be boiled. And you want to put all the utensils that you would need. You put like a fish spatula, a rubber spatula, things like a ladle would be good, slotted spoon, a regular spoon, your tongs. So when you are cooking, you don't leave a mess every time you use it. You put it back in the hot water, and this way you keep your station nice and clean. I'm going to show you today how to sharpen your knife. Okay, to sharpen your knife, it's really important to have a sharp knife, because your knife is your tool in the kitchen, and then your knife skills are reflected by how you have your knife sharp. If you have a dull knife, it's really hard to have a nice knife skill, so I'm going to show you how to do it. I like to do it with a whetstone, a two-sided whetstone. The reason I like to use it, it's because it's very affordable. You can go to an Asian market, one of the Asian markets around, and it costs between $10 to $15, so it's not very expensive, and it's doing a really good job. I soak it in water ahead of time. This way it's like a sponge. It's porous, so it's saturated with water, and when I put the water on top of it, it's not going to disappear immediately, okay? So this is my chef knife. I'm going to start by putting it on a wet, damp towel, and when you put it, you need to put it in 22 degrees, okay? So this is 90 degrees, 45, and half of 45 is 22 and a half, or 22 for the sake of it. Now, if you go too flat, it's not a big deal. It's just not going to sharpen as good. But if you're going too sharp, then every time you try to sharpen your knife, it's going to actually make it duller, okay? So make sure that you are, if this is 45 degrees, which is half of 90, then you go halfway again, and this is the sign to make the 22 degrees. Another thing you need to make sure is to start from the base of the knife and go all the way to the tip. What I mean is, when you go like this, you see, I pass the whole blade on the stone. What sometimes happens when you go too fast, you are missing this part over here, and this part is not going to get sharpened. So when you do it, pay attention and make sure that the whole knife goes on the stone. So I do one side, then just flip it to the other side, apply some pressure, and go the other side. I start on the darker side, which is the coarse side, and the finer side is the one that is a pale gray. So again, back and forth, back and forth. You don't need to do it too many times. Then you flip it to the other side, put a little bit more water on top of it, and then go and do the same angle, okay? The way to check if it's sharp, you're gonna take the knife and use the palm of your hand, and you kind of like rub it on the palm of your hand, very careful without cutting yourself, and you can check all the parts of your knife. If I feel that one of the parts is not as sharp as the other, I can put more emphasis on it. I feel over here I need a little bit more, so I'm going to put some pressure and make sure that this part is getting sharpened. Flip it to the other side, use a little bit of water on top of it, and then go ahead and sharpen it. You can hear how this one is much finer. And then I check it on my hand. Now it's much better. You can get this dried out piece of paper, dried out. And then I'm going to utilize the steel. The steel is just keeping it on, and it's not actually sharpening it. It just helps it to stay sharper longer. So before you start your class and when you finish your class, you can go with your steel. You don't need to go for too long and do it for 2 minutes. All you have to do is like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it should be enough, okay? Then you clean it if you have any residues, and then you check it nice and sharp. Starting your mise en place with a sharp knife will make a lot of difference.